Novitas Solutions, a CMS contractor, welcomes you to the On-Demand Education series. On-Demand Education Disclaimer. This on-demand tutorial is a general summary that explains certain aspects of the Medicare program, but is not a legal document. The official Medicare program provisions are contained in the relevant laws, regulations, and rulings. The information enclosed was current at the time it was presented. Medicare policy changes frequently. Links to the source documents have been provided within the document for your reference. This presentation was prepared as a tool to assist providers and is not intended to grant rights or impose obligations. On-demand tutorial resources. Throughout this module, you will see a citation number behind certain elements of information as shown in the example below. This citation number coincides with the transcript document positioned next to the Play Now icon you selected on the training videos Click and Play page on the Novitas Solutions website. The citation and associated hyperlink to the resource described in the module will be found on the transcript under footnotes for each slide. Novitas Solutions On-Demand Education Series presents Redetermination and Clerical Error Reopening Form, Part B. Redetermination and Clerical Error Reopening Overview. Redetermination and Clerical Error Reopening Definition. A redetermination is a new and independent review of a claim if the party is dissatisfied with the initial claim determination. The redetermination is the first level of appeal that is processed by the Medicare administrative contractor. Please keep in mind all requests for a redetermination must be submitted within 120 days after the date of the receipt of the notice of the initial claim determination. A clerical error reopening or claim correction is the act of initiating a correction to a previous claim submission. This includes errors in data submission and content. However, it does not include failure to bill for items or services. Claim corrections must be submitted within 1 year from the initial claim determination. A clerical error reopening is for minor errors or omissions on your claim submission, such as mathematical or computational mistakes, transposed procedure or diagnosis codes, or inaccurate data entry. Many of these corrections you can do on your own. Adding, changing, deleting modifiers, changing current procedural terminology, healthcare common procedure coding system code, or changing Redetermination and clerical error reopening purpose. A redetermination request will review the submitted medical documentation sent with the appeal request and will allow an independent reevaluation of the claim determination. If the redetermination is favorable, the claim will be reprocessed for payment. If the redetermination request is fully or partially unfavorable or dismissed, a letter will be sent to the provider with details on their next steps in the appeal process. A redetermination request can be completed by one of the following options: online submission via the Novitasphere portal, or submitting a written request via fax or mail. A clerical error reopening request will allow for corrections to be made on an incorrect claim submission. When a valid clerical error reopening is submitted, the claim will be adjusted or reprocessed. A clerical error reopening or claim correction can be completed by one of the following options: online submission via the Novitasphere portal, online submission via the reopening gateway, calling the automated claim corrections IVR, or submitting a written request via fax or mail. Completion of redetermination and clerical error reopening form. Locating the redetermination and clerical error reopening form. The redetermination and clerical error reopening form can be found by accessing the Novitas Solutions website. Once you select your correct jurisdiction, you will use the Appeals option on the left side toolbar. You can select the Submit Appeals or Submit Claim Corrections from the drop-down menu on this toolbar, or continue to the Appeals Center landing page by selecting Home under the Appeals Center. Once you navigate to the Appeals Center landing page, you will select the option of Submit an Appeal, Forms and Tutorials, or Submit Claim Corrections and Reopenings to take you to the paper fill and print Medicare Part B Redetermination and Clerical Error Reopening Request Form. Step number 1. The first step on the Redetermination and Clerical Error Reopening Form is to review questions 1 and 2. Do not complete the form if you answer yes to either of these situations. Instead, follow the instructions given for each situation. Number 1. If you received a Medicare Redetermination Notice, MRN, on this claim, do not use this form to request further appeal. Your next level of appeal is a reconsideration by a qualified independent contractor, QIC form. Number 2, if you received a message MA-130 on the Medicare remittance notice for this claim, no appeal or reopening rights are available. Please submit a new claim with the appropriate corrections. You also use the radio button selection to report the appropriate state in which the services were rendered. For today's example, we're going to select the state of Maryland, or MD. Step number 2. Step number 2 gives you a drop-down option to select if your appeal request is due to a prior authorization denial. The two options in the drop-down box are either non-emergent ambulance or hospital outpatient department. If neither of these options apply to your request, the field can be left blank. Step number 3. Step number 3 requires you to select yes or no to the following questions. Are you requesting a redetermination as a result of a recovery auditor decision? If the answer is yes, please include the recovery auditor letter with your request. For today's example, we are going to select no. Are you requesting a redetermination as the result of a 935 overpayment decision? If the answer is yes, Please include a copy of the overpayment letter with your request. For today's example, we are going to select No. Are you requesting a redetermination as the result of a denial because your patient has Medicare listed as a secondary insurance? If the answer is yes, please include a copy of the primary insurance explanation of benefits with your request. For today's example, we are going to select No. Step number 4. Step number 4 has multiple radio buttons to select a category to identify the procedure code that describes the services you rendered and are appealing or completing as a clerical error reopening correction. For today's example, we are going to select Other. Step number 5. Step number 5 has the provider privacy authentication, so please complete this section in its entirety. As we are not able to add provider-specific information due to privacy restrictions, I will type in generic details in each field. These fields include the Provider Transaction Access Number, or PTAN, is a 6 to 10-digit number assigned to the provider who is billing the service in question. We will type in PTAN to show as an example. The National Provider Identifier, or NPI, is a 10-digit number assigned to the provider who is billing the service in question. We will type in NPI to show as an example. The last 5 digits of the tax identification number, or TIN, for the provider who is billing the service in question. We will type in TIN to show as an example. The full name of the provider who is billing the service in question. We will type in provider or group name to show as an example. Step number 6. Step number 6 has the beneficiary privacy authentication, so please complete this section in its entirety. Again, due to privacy restrictions, I will type in generic details in each field. These fields include: provide the full first name of the beneficiary as it appears on the Medicare card for which the service has been billed. We will type in first name to show as an example. Provide the full last name of the beneficiary as it appears on the Medicare card for which the service has been billed. We will type in last name to show as an example. Provide the beneficiary's 11-digit alphanumeric Medicare Beneficiary Identifier, or MBI, from his or her Medicare card. We will type in MBI to show as an example. The claim number is a unique 13-digit claim tracking number issued by Medicare that can be obtained from your remittance advice. We will type in claim number to show as an example. Step number 7. In step number 7, please provide the date of service, or DOS, as well as the procedure code in question for the services billed. We will type in DOS and code to show as examples. Step number 8. Step number 8 is where the requester adds their contact details. The fields include the requester's name, relationship to provider, and telephone number. Please add direct line or extension. While there is no field for an email, that can be added as an additional contact in any of these fields. These details are used if Novitas would need to contact you or request further information on the appeal request. Let's add some details here for examples. Requester's name. We will type in requester as an example. Requester's relationship to provider. We will type in appeals team as an example. Requester's telephone number. We will type in X's and add an extension as well as an email example. Step number 9. The final step in the form completion is where you can create a narrative that gives a clear, concise reason for the request. Please be as specific as possible and try to avoid jargon or acronyms that may not be understood by Novitas's appeal staff. Please be sure to send all supporting documentation for the services being appealed. Let's write a brief narrative to say the appeal is to support the medical necessity of denied services. Submission of redetermination and clerical error reopening form. Once your form is completed in its entirety, you can fax the medical records with the redetermination and clerical error reopening form. This can be used as the cover sheet to our appeals department at 1-888-541-3829. Please keep in mind, if faxing medical records, they cannot exceed 200 pages. Also, please only fax one request per patient to avoid the documents combining, which can cause the appeal to not process. If you wish to send the documents via priority mail or with a commercial carrier, you can use the physical or street address of Novitas Solutions, Attention Medicare Appeals, 2020 Technology Parkway, Suite 100, Mechanicsburg, PA 17050. Post office boxes for JL. If you are rendering services in jurisdiction L and decide to send your supporting documentation through general mail with the United States Postal Service, or the records exceed the allowable amount of 200 pages that can be faxed, you can use the following address to send to our post office box: Novitas Solutions, Attention Appeals Department, P.O. Box 3110, Mechanicsburg, PA 17055, with the extended 4-digit zip code of 1852. Post office boxes for JH. If you are rendering services in jurisdiction H and decide to send your supporting documentation through general mail with the United States Postal Service, or the records exceed the allowable amount of 200 pages that can be faxed, you can use the following address to send to our post office box: Novitas Solutions, Attention Appeals Department, P.O. Box 3413, Mechanicsburg, PA 17055, with the extended 4-digit zip code of 1852. Submission of redetermination and clerical error reopening form in Novitasphere. What is Novitasphere? Novitas offers a free, secure, web-based portal for providers, billing services, and clearinghouses. Once your enrollment is complete, you have a multitude of features at your fingertips within the Novitasphere portal, including submission of redetermination and clerical error reopenings. For questions about enrollment, password resets, or usage, please contact the Novitasphere Help Desk at 1-855-880-8424 from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Time. You can also visit our website at novitas-solutions.com for more information. Appeal request in Novitasphere. Once you click on Appeal Request from the left navigation bar, you'll see the search screen appear. You'll select or enter the required data elements noted with a red asterisk and click Search. Keep in mind that the NPI, PTN, and state will populate for you, and the date of service will default to the date you're entering the request. The more details you can enter on this page will narrow your results when you are viewing your appeal request. We will input this data today for our example. beneficiary's Medicare ID or MBI, ICN or claim number, beneficiary's first initial, beneficiary's last name. Once you are done inputting your data, use the search button. View of the claim for appeal request. Once your data has been entered, your claim details will appear to view. This is when the details you entered on the previous page will narrow your options to the claim you wish to submit for a redetermination or clerical error reopening. Remember that you cannot do a request on a rejected claim. Select View on the line item for the claim you wish to submit the request. Selecting the items for appeal request. This feature allows you to click the box of the detailed lines to be addressed in the request. This can be all the lines or just one, depending on the nature of your request, redetermination versus a clerical error reopening. Once you select the lines you wish to correct, click the Next button. Redetermination and Clerical Error Reopening Request Form in Novitasphere. After you select the Next button, the Redetermination and Clerical Error Reopening Request Form will then be displayed. This should look very similar to the paper form we reviewed earlier. You will need to complete all required information that has an open field or box. We will input this data today for our example. Beneficiary's first name, beneficiary's last name, requester's name, requester's relationship to provider, requester's telephone number, and detailed explanation of appeal request. Once you are done inputting your data, use the Next button. Uploading documents for an appeal in Novitasphere. When uploading documents, please keep in mind that documents must be in a PDF or TIFF format and less than 1,500 pages. In addition, multiple documents can be added with the File to Upload option. Follow these steps to upload your documentation. Input claim number. Select Browse to find your documentation. Select Upload File to import your documentation. Select Submit to finalize your submission. It is also important that you do not submit a copy of the Redetermination and Clerical Error Reopening form with your records. Doing so will cause a duplication of your request and will cause processing delays for your appeal request. Thank you for attending. We encourage you to visit our website, www.novitas-solutions.com, to access additional resources and participate in our educational events. Visit our education and training page to access the most current Medicare education.